There are a handful of places in Austin where if you spend enough time there, you start to notice the types of people showing up over and over again. And it's not random. It's not just about the place, it's about what that place signals. And if you're moving here for tech or you're just trying to understand the social layer of the city, these spots tell you a lot more than people realize. The first one is Soho House, Austin. And I know this is the most obvious, but it's also one of the most misunderstood, I think. People think it's just a members club, but it's really a filter. You don't just walk in and get approved. And because of that, the people inside tend to be in media, in tech, in startups, or adjacent industries where access and network matter. It's less about what you do there and more about who you might run into. So you're going to see founders, creators, people working on things that aren't fully public yet. It's quiet signaling. And nobody's announcing anything, but everyone is aware of where they are. Then you have places like Equinox, and this is a completely different signal. This is structure, routine, discipline. These are people who wake up really early and work really demanding jobs and still prioritize a certain standard of lifestyle. And you're going to see a lot of big tech. You're going to see a lot of high earners and people who are very consistent. It's less social and it's more, I'd say, pattern driven, but the same people are there every day. And over time, that becomes its own network, really. Then you've got coffee spots that all function as unofficial offices like Alfred Coffee or places around East Austin where people are very clearly not just there for the coffee. This is where a lot of early stage energy lives. There's laptops open, there's meetings happening, there's people building things in real time. It's casual on the surface, but there's a lot of motion underneath. So you might sit next to somebody working on a startup, somebody else who's like raising money, somebody who just moved here from San Francisco, all trying to figure out their next move. And it's a very fluid environment. And then there's places like Electric Shuffle or certain spots in the Domain or downtown where groups go after work. And these are more structured social environments. So team outings, small groups, people who already know each other. It's less about meeting new people and more about maintaining existing circles. So if you're new to the city, you're going to feel that difference pretty immediately. And then there's a category people don't talk about as much, which is the quieter, higher end spots. So places like Jeffrey's or smaller neighborhood restaurants where people are having conversations and dinners and spending time in a more private way. And this is where you start to see a different level of income and a different level of stability. People aren't trying to be out. They are trying to just live their lives, but the rooms tend to be very high quality. And I think the key thing to understand is none of these places are the scene. Each one represents a different slice of it. And Austin doesn't have one central hub where everything happens. It's a network of environment and people move between them depending on what they value and whether that's access, routine, creativity, privacy. So if you're moving here, the goal isn't to hit every spot on this list I just gave you. It's more to figure out which of these environments actually fit you because that's going to determine who you meet, how you spend your time, and honestly, how much you enjoy living in Austin. I'm Amber Haley. I help tech professionals figure out where they actually fit in Austin before they make really expensive decisions. So if you're thinking about moving here, reach out to me. Let me know what you think in the comments if you've been to any of these places, if I missed anything. And don't forget to subscribe because I post new videos about Austin tech and relocation every single week. I can't wait to see you in Austin.